Somewhere in a lab right now, a computer is doing something your laptop can never do. Not because it is simply faster, it works with the rules of quantum physics, and that can change which problems a computer is able to solve at all. That is the real reason quantum computing could change everything. Every phone, laptop, and supercomputer you use today runs on bits. A bit is simple, 0 or 1. A quantum computer uses something stranger, called a qubit.
So a qubit is basically a faster bit?
Not faster, different. A qubit can be prepared in a combination of 0 and 1 possibilities. And a quantum computer can control how those possibilities behave before it measures them.
And a quantum computer can control how those possibilities behave before it measures them. That combination is called superposition. You may have heard that this means a quantum computer tries every possible answer at the same time. That sounds great. It is also misleading. A qubit does not contain a list of finished answers waiting to be read. When you measure it, you still get an ordinary result, such as 0 or 1. So how can that possibly help? The important part happens before the measurement. A quantum state carries something called amplitude, including a property called phase. You can think of phase as the timing of waves. When waves line up, they reinforce each other. When they are out of step, they can cancel. Quantum algorithms use gates to control those phases and create interference. Useful possibilities can become more likely. Unhelpful possibilities can become less likely. That is the trick. Not reading every answer at once, but shaping the odds before you look. Imagine dozens of ripples crossing a pond. If they meet randomly, you get a messy surface. Arrange them carefully, and some waves grow while others disappear. A quantum algorithm tries to create that kind of pattern with information. Because one measurement gives only one result, the same quantum circuit is often run many times. The results form a pattern, and that pattern is what the programmer studies.
So it is not secretly solving every possibility and then handing us the best one?
Exactly. The real power comes from interference. Make useful outcomes stronger, cancel others, then measure the pattern.
There is another ingredient, entanglement. 2 or more qubits can become part of one shared quantum state, with relationships that cannot be described by treating each qubit independently. Entanglement does not send magical messages faster than light. What it gives the computer is a richer way to connect information inside the calculation. Now combine superposition, entanglement, phase, and interference. As the number of qubits grows, the mathematical space describing the system grows extremely quickly. That sounds like unlimited computing power. It is not. A larger quantum state is useful only if the algorithm can control it well enough to create the right interference pattern. Otherwise, you have not built a better computer. You have built a more expensive way to produce noise. This leads to the next surprise. Quantum computers are not expected to replace your laptop, phone, or the servers running the internet. For email, video, databases, games, spreadsheets, and most everyday software, classical computers are already extremely good. Quantum computers are specialized machines. Their advantage appears only for certain problems and certain algorithms. That distinction is easy to miss. A quantum computer does not make a hard problem easy just because the problem has many possible answers. The algorithm needs a quantum structure it can actually exploit. That is why famous quantum speedups are tied to specific mathematical tasks, not to computing in general. One of the clearest examples is nature itself. Molecules obey quantum physics. To model a molecule accurately, a classical computer may need to keep track of an enormous number of interacting quantum possibilities. As the molecule gets more complicated, that job can become brutally difficult. A sufficiently capable quantum computer could represent some of that behavior more naturally. That could eventually help researchers study catalysts, batteries, fertilizers, medicines, or entirely new materials. Could is the important word. Today's machines are still noisy, delicate, and difficult to scale. Qubits lose their quantum behavior when the environment disturbs them. Heat, electromagnetic noise, imperfect control signals, or unwanted interactions can introduce errors. That is why some quantum computers look nothing like a normal computer. Superconducting systems, for example, place their processors inside huge refrigeration systems operating at temperatures close to absolute zero. Other technologies use trapped ions, neutral atoms, photons, or spins, and need very different equipment. There is no single agreed blueprint for the quantum computer of the future. Even the famous qubit count on a specification sheet tells only part of the story. 1,000 unreliable qubits may be less useful than a smaller system that can perform much cleaner operations. And behind the quantum processor sits a lot of classical computing. Normal computers prepare instructions, generate control signals, collect measurements, and process the results. Quantum computing is likely to work alongside classical computing, not replace it. Then there is cryptography. Much of today's public key security relies on mathematical problems that classical computers find extremely hard, such as factoring very large numbers or solving discrete logarithms. A sufficiently large, fault-tolerant quantum computer running Shor's algorithm could break widely used systems such as RSA and elliptic curve cryptography. That machine does not exist today. Building one may require very large numbers of physical qubits, plus extremely effective error correction. Yet governments and companies are already moving toward post-quantum cryptography. Why prepare for a machine that has not been built?
If quantum computers are still this limited, why are people already changing encryption?
Because some encrypted information stays valuable for years. Someone can steal it today, store it, and hope a future quantum computer can decrypt it later.
That idea is often called harvest now, decrypt later. It explains why the security impact of quantum computing can begin long before a powerful code-breaking machine arrives. And it brings us to the hardest engineering challenge of all, error correction. Physical qubits are fragile. To build a reliable logical qubit, researchers may need many physical qubits working together to detect and correct errors. They cannot simply copy a qubit the way a classical computer copies a bit. Instead, error correction schemes spread quantum information across many physical qubits and look for signs that something has gone wrong without directly reading the protected information itself. The goal is not simply to build a machine with more qubits. The goal is to make the logical information more reliable as the system grows. Researchers have already demonstrated important steps in that direction. Turning those experiments into large machines that can run long, useful calculations is still a huge challenge. So why could quantum computing change everything? Not because it makes every computer faster, not because it checks every answer at once, and not because your next laptop needs a quantum processor. It matters because, for the right problem, a quantum algorithm can organize information in a way a classical computer cannot directly reproduce. That may change how quickly the difficulty grows as the problem gets bigger. And if a problem moves from practically impossible to realistically solvable, the consequences can reach far beyond computing. New materials, new chemistry, new security systems, and perhaps new ways to model systems that overwhelm even our best classical machines today. That is a much narrower promise than every answer at once. It is also far more interesting. Maybe solutions we cannot calculate today. Quantum computing doesn't make every computer faster. It changes what a computer can solve.